Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments, ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR, practice management simplified. Recover, new revenue, no compromise. Cool Blue VA, your virtual assistant. The Chiro speaking company, attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. The Chiro Hustle Podcast is sponsored by Chiro Health USA, ChiroScript AI, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 694 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Zsolt Egey-Samu. And if you want to hear his story about loving chiropractic and practicing in multi-country, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have Dr. Zsolt Egey-Samu on with me. Originally from Canada. Now he's practicing down in Arizona. Going to be a really great episode. We connected at Chiro Congress in 2023, we discovered down in St. Louis. And I felt like I had a brother from our first engagement. And here we are today, a few years later. But we are going to talk about some really cool stuff. Him practicing from Canada to America. How to scale a chiropractic office, his love for chiropractic, what it has given him and what he can give back. We're going to discuss the dysfunction with the associate and owner and how to repair that. Advice that he has to chiropractic students, which I think everybody should stick around for because it's probably going to make a huge impact on your decision making and how you work with chiropractic students moving forward and how they work with associates and the whole path and the work that he's doing with the remarkable practice. And not to just get one mentor, but to get a board of directors and advisors and a group of mentors. Huge takeaways today. So everybody stick with us. We're going to go here shortly, but this is episode 694, and this is why we do what we do. First things first, freedom of speech. We know what it's like to be traffic throttled, censored, and shadow banned. We'd never do that to you. We believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. We believe that chiropractors are the people that you should go to for this advice. If you need advice, you can reach out to us, send us a message at chirohustle.com. We do protect BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. If you need to know more about chiropractic, go to the show notes, click on the Sacred Trust. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you ever did before previously, I guarantee you. Philosophically sounding, we support subluxation-based chiropractic. We believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, which creates the educated intelligence. And that's what our show is all about, educating the world about chiropractic. So if you know a student that needs this message of chiropractic, please share the show with them. A young chiropractor that might be lost, please share the show with them. And if there's vacancy in the campus of a student that you know that is not getting philosophy, please share the show. And with that, this is episode 694. Dr. Zsolt, welcome.
James, glad to be here. Really glad to be here.
Woo!
Woo.
So let's rock right into this one. I honestly don't recall your story of how you got into chiropractic. So let's open up with your story of how you got into this beautiful profession.
So my mother wrote off 5 cars before I graduated high school. She was always late, super fast driver. And I'd gone to the chiropractor often. And but I was treated, even in Canada, like a personal injury case. So I never got the story. And but then I was in a bad accident in grade 11, went through the side window of a car. My friend was driving. We were driving a Suzuki Samurai, T-boned by an El Camino. And I woke up, the car was an accordion. And within days, I had headaches, migraines, allergies, asthma, and that progressed into worse headaches and migraines. That progressed into depression And I went from a good student to a failing student. And people suggested that I go to a chiropractor. And I said, I don't have any neck pain. I've got all these other things. And, I was on 0 medications. And after the accident, now I'm on 5 medications. And I went to a chiropractor that explained a little bit about what chiropractic did. But the proof was in the pudding, where I got the results. I was off all my medications, and I got my life back. But that really wasn't enough, because, you still deal with life, esteem. Can I really do this? Can I do 8 years of school? And so I looked into being a pilot. I had worked from age 9 to 18 in hospitality. My father built hotels and restaurants, so I loved, that whole environment, the fast-paced hospitality environment. From 19 to about 27, I worked in retail, most of it in Ralph Lauren. But I went to Europe in my second year of university after doing a pre-business direction. And I wanted to figure out, what I was going to do with my life. And I had this conversation with myself coming from Budapest to Brussels. I had this conversation. It was 2 a.m, and I was just a speck on a train. And it was really a self-affirming, self-esteem check. And I realized, I can do this. And then I looked back on my whole life, and there was chiropractic kind of dotted throughout. And it just became clear that that was my calling. So I look at it like, we can't see God's hand moving forward, but looking back, you can see all the places that it had touched me, and it became clear. And I came back and I switched my major, did all the sciences, and my life's never been the same since.
There's some really cool stuff you said there about like the guidance of moments in your life that gave you the clarity to know like this is the next thing. A lot of people never take that calling, and they let themselves continuously play small.
Yes.
And live in fear.
Yes.
I'm sure that was a narrative that was like spinning around in your head when you're like 8 years of college.
Terrifying. Well, I looked at becoming a pilot, and people said, well, go through the military because they'll pay for it. And you just have to serve for 4 years. Like, I don't want to do that. Then I looked into what it would cost privately, and it was about $80,000. I was like, man, I can't afford that. Fortunately, I didn't check what chiropractic school was going to cost because it was double. And so it wasn't my calling. And I had decided in that conversation as a 20-year-old that chiropractic was my purpose. Later, I realized that chiropractic wasn't my purpose, but chiropractic was the vessel on how I could express my purpose. And that was really that beautiful marriage.
Yeah. And you said that you came from Europe, go to Canada. Now you're here in the States. Correct?
No, my family moved from Hungary to England to Canada. And I was actually first born in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got a full upbringing up in Canada, and now you're down here in the States.
That's right.
I know you had a pretty thriving practice up in Canada also. How did you go about building that practice?
So in the beginning, I knew. Well, so first of all, my wife and I are both chiropractors, and we built it together as naive, ignorant students that now had a lease and a passion, and we really didn't know what we were doing. I remember celebrating, the two of us together saw 100 patient visits, and we thought we had just set the world on fire. 100 patient visits that week together. And that was, 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. It was really, but it was a big thing for us. But we also knew that there were people that were really making a change in the world. And she suggested that we go back to, I graduated from Northwestern, and Dr. Charles Ward was doing a seminar there. And he spoke for an hour, and it really, it punched me in the chest, good and bad. And he had an offer, and he said, well, if I have some cassettes that are available about like mindset and chiropractic philosophy. And so these were things that I knew existed and I had dabbled in, but I really didn't have the full appreciation for. The biggest problem was he was selling them, and I think maybe they were $100, $150. And in my head I was broke. And I was like, I can't afford those. So my wife convinced us, fortunately, she goes, we have to get them. Now, there was an offer that if you bought the cassettes, you could come back 2 weeks later because he was doing a full weekend seminar and it was part of the price. And I thought, listen, I'll buy the tapes, but there's no way that I can take a Friday off of work. We're going to see 15, 20 people. I can't afford that to come back to Minneapolis to hear this mindset stuff. Anyway, my wife convinces me, and 2 weeks later, we're back in Minneapolis. It's an incredible, life-transforming weekend. And he has an offer at the end of it. If you sign up with me, right, it may have been $800, $900 a month for coaching of chiropractic. And I thought, man, I've bought the tapes. I've come back. There's no way that I'm going to be doing this. Even for a month, my wife convinces me, we sign up for a year. And really, as they say, the rest is history, but it's not. We had such an incredible group of people. And there was a group inside his group called the Inner Circle. And Dr. Ward, he was friends with Jim Parker. Jim learned from BJ. We were just steps in the lineage. And we learned so much about mindset and chiropractic and love and all the things that are important. It just gave us such an incredible foundation for the rest of our lives. And we grew and grew and grew. And, pretty soon we were seeing, hundreds of people a week, and then it was hundreds of people a day. And we just never looked back.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because unpacking, you said Charlie Ward.
Yeah.
You talk about this lineage thing. Who are some of your other mentors that helped you become that doctor within those fundamental years?
I look back on those moments, and Bruce Lipton was at that same seminar, and John DeMartini, Patrick Gentempo. There is so many people that now I'm friends with.
Yeah.
Along the way, there's people that capture my heart and soul, and I'm like, I gotta get to know that person. So when you and I met in St. Louis, for anybody and everybody that's listening, you got Baron Hogue, right, from the Chiropractic Defense Council. He's on stage singing. I had no idea he's got this powerful voice. So we've got this chiropractic Goliath on stage singing. I think he was singing Journey or something. The whole event was so surreal. That weekend was so surreal. And anytime I've met my mentors or people that have really impacted me, it dents me. It gives, my life is never the same. It changes not my trajectory, but it fills me up. It's just more fuel.
Well, it just going back to some of these people that you said that were on that original stage, it just tells me how much of a responsibility we have of doing our show here, because this is the new stage. This is where the people come for their information. And I believe that we do have a responsibility to be stewards of the stage, because you never know who's watching or listening that will eventually say, that day I listened to that thing that changed my perspective on believing in myself to go and do this better.
100%.
And that's your love for chiropractic, I'm thinking. And
that is the foundation, the people that I know and the people that have brought me with them and the people that I get to bring with me.
So it's given you a lot. And
yes.
What is it like for you to give back now?
It's easy. It's fun. It is, it's expected.
So you were talking to me before we got going today about what you really wanted to help with. And that's understand the dysfunction between the associate and the owner and how to make that easier on both sides of the equation.
I was, as many students are, I did my externship in a couple different offices, and I knew in my heart, just from being raised by an entrepreneur, that that's what I wanted to do. My wife, necessarily, she supported that, but we didn't really know what we were doing. And so it's very, very different. There's a lot of people inside of chiropractic that describe themselves as entrepreneurial, but really they have a tremendously difficult job and they're shackled to it. And I talk to these people that they've been in practice for 30, 40, 50 years, and they've never taken more than a week off. And that might be 1 week a year. And it is tremendously depressing because they're not business owners. They're not entrepreneurs. They're shackled to a job. So in chiropractic, there should be win-win. There's some people that want to be caregivers and employees in the most positive sense. And there are some people that should own companies and build and scale and provide an environment for the other people to work within happily. And I think that's one of the things that has kept chiropractic small, is that there's people that are in practice by themselves that shouldn't be. There are people that are hiring associates that have maybe the wrong intentions or they're misguided. And all these things suppress the economics of chiropractic. You and I were talking earlier about the economics of medicine and and if we could all grow together, and we have to fix that on a grassroots level. So things that I think would really help associates or business owners is understanding the owner-associate relationship. And so a lot of associates are presented a package by the owner that says, you're going to eat what you kill. This is what it took for me to be successful, so this is what you have to do. Well, if they could do that, they would go do that on their own. That's not how they're built. They're built like caregivers. Their currency is predictability. Their currency is safety. Their currency is just really an environment that they can work 9 to 5, do their job exceptionally, take the pressure off the owner, buy back the owner's time so they can go out and scale. But they also have the security of knowing, I've got a job. I'm gonna have these metrics that I'm gonna make sure that I hit these targets. They're not necessarily goals, but they're key performance indicators to make sure that everybody knows that they're doing a good job. And I'm going to work here for the next 20 years. And I'm going to provide great care to the patients. I'm going to uphold the chiropractic trust. I'm going to make the business that I work for happy. Most MDs, they work either in a hospital or a clinic. They're not running the clinic, okay? And most of them are not going out marketing the clinic. We don't all need to be Dr. Oz or Dr. Mayo. Well, actually, Dr. Mayo is going to be owning the clinic. But in chiropractic, we think that we all have to go out and do all things to everybody, and we can't, and it's exhausting. And most of us aren't built that way. So number one is, what is it that you want as an associate doctor? Now, in your late 20s, early 30s, I don't know that you can necessarily articulate exactly what you want. But if you do know what you want, and here's my offer, I'll help anybody that wants to figure that out, okay? But as a clinic owner, and I'm speaking from scar tissue, I had 5 associates that I wanted them to do what I did, almost like to become mini-me's, okay? And because that's what made us successful, but that's not what made them successful. And so the relationship was strained. And my last associate, it really was a situation like that where things weren't, I was seeing the lion's share of patients and making the lion's share of the money, and she was not, okay? And there became that she's lazy, or, he's dominating, all those things that you and I have heard. And it really wasn't true, but that was the setup, and it was set up to fail. So I reached out to a company called Chiro Matchmakers, and I said, I need help with this. And they did some behavioral profiles on it. And I realized I am a CEO. She's a caregiver. My wife is hardwired to be a CFO. So it told us 2 things. I can't treat a caregiver like a CEO, but also we're missing a COO. So immediately we hired a COO to bridge the gap between me and my wife, and we placed Dr. Sarah in the position of caregiver, and everything changed from there. Everything.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments, ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR, practice management simplified. Recover, new revenue, no compromise. Cool Blue VA, your virtual assistant. The Chiro Speaking Company, attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. The Chiro Hustle Podcast is sponsored by Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Well, you said some important things there. I just want to make notice of. One of those things is chiropractors practice a healing art.
Yes.
And chiropractors are profound healers.
Yes.
And just because somebody gets a license and a degree to become a chiropractor doesn't mean that they get licensed and degree to become a business owner.
No. Not at all.
And then you send a healer out to go out and be a business owner. And then they're like, well, owning a business isn't just paying bills and keeping the lights on. It's actually marketing.
Yes.
And it's not just marketing. It's, I have to work every day of the month. And I'm still underwater because I don't know how to do this thing. I don't know how to run the business. I don't know how to use my degree to its maximum potential. And now I have to work every day of the month and do this thing that they call marketing.
That's right.
And I don't know what to do for that. It sucks. I don't want to do that. And then the owner says, okay, I don't want to be the treating doctor anymore. And I don't want to be the marketer anymore.
Right. James, it's right there. So everybody's unhappy all the time.
So they plug this new person into a system that they didn't like.
Right.
And now they put this expectations that you're supposed to go do everything that I didn't like to do. And now you're a part of my group, and damn you for not doing it. Right. I don't want to do it anymore.
It's like chiropractic raises a bunch of quarterbacks and we have nobody to throw to. We're all ticked off that the ball's at the other end of the field. So, if you're the quarterback, then you want to hire blockers and receivers. And so it's really knowing, number one, your value system. So I always challenge patients that when they are leaving a job and they're like, I need a new job. I'm like, you do not need a new job. The world does not need you to have a new job. But what you need to do is go through and just Google top 200 human values and figure out what is your top 10. And then everything that comes your way, filter it through that. So if you love business, then you should own a clinic and run a clinic properly and take business courses. If you're an associate, if you're hardwired to be an associate, then that's exactly, you should find somebody that's going to value and respect and utilize your giftings. Now, if you're in the middle there and you're a marketer, you kind of have, you can really kind of go between those two, but you need that framework. So figure out who you are, have a great conversation with your mentorship team that we talked a little bit about, where sometimes we get trapped where we have a mentor. And I hear this all the time. Oh, this is my mentor. And I was like that. And I would have one person that was like whatever they said. But then I realized if they were great at money, maybe they weren't great at relationships. So they become my financial mentor, but not my relationship mentor. And then I created a board of advisors, and I'd say, well, okay, so listen, BJ is on my board of advisors. What would BJ do? Okay. What would James do? What would my wife do? Every time I have to buy insurance, I think, what would my wife do? Well, she'd buy it. Okay. I'll buy the insurance for my car, my rims, or whatever it is. So I think it's important to have mentors and not just a mentor. Advisors, not just an advisor.
Yeah. Now let's advise students.
Yes.
Drop some knowledge for the future chiropractic student that's coming out into the marketplace.
So chiropractic, we talked a little bit about the future of chiropractic. And so these students that are coming out, the future is theirs. And if they not based on fear. And I'll help them in this. If they want to have conversations, I love going to the campuses and going to different conventions and talking with the students. You can see in their eyes, Zig Ziglar used to say, enthusiasm, because they have so much enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is like going across the living room in the dark. You can get there or you can get killed, right? You may trip over the coffee table and break your neck. So these young students, a lot of times they do something for a couple of years and they get upset at chiropractic or chiropractors or the business model that they were in. It's you need good advisors. You need to take a look at the field, see what you're built for, and creating expectations and agreements with the doctors that you're going to work with. Put it out all on the table. A lot of times doctors are not clear about the financials. They're not clear about the workload. So talk about where do the new patients come from? Am I a caregiver? Am I expected to do spinal screens every single weekend? What is our agreements? And understanding that it's a living agreement, but you want to nail these things down and don't be afraid to not get that job. James, you and I have not got every job we wanted. And so, and thank goodness for that. Figure out what it is that you want and see if that meshes with what's being offered to you. And if it doesn't, your ideal life is just around the corner.
Well, I know that you're a businessman also, and you've come now from Canada, thriving practice, now down here to Arizona.
Yes.
What do you do to build your team up? How do you work with your team internally to make sure that all things are working the way that we're talking about our responsibilities with ourselves, but also the headspace and the relationship with the people that are helping us grow the practice?
So I've always had a coaching or mentorship group that we've been a part of. Because sometimes when you hear it from dad, you don't hear it. But then when you hear it from, a friend down the street, you're like, oh, that makes sense. I think every parent has gone through that. And so we bring our teams so they can hear it from others. Okay. Then we also really pour into them and value the people that are on our team. So we're always really, again, pouring into them. We run by KPIs. So people know what the expectations and agreements are. And as of late, the last 6 years, we've been with The Remarkable Practice. So we utilize their systems, which mirror Gino Wickman's book, Traction, which is just an entrepreneurial Bible. And so it's really making sure that we value people first. We protect our team so that we can serve our community. And this is really important, that I learned is that a lot of times as chiropractors, we either are islands, and you've had a lot of podcasts where chiropractors feel like islands, and they don't reach out to anybody in their community. And so I really early on started to reach out and hear the stories of chiropractors in my community, and then nationally and then internationally. And we're more alike than different, but then also getting outside of chiropractic. So when we hit a certain income level, we were able to join business groups like EO, where, in my forum group, I had people that owned multiple donut shops, and because we're in Canada, liquor stores, pool liners, they would refurbish pools. They had architecture companies. So I had, 8 different industries. And again, realizing that we're more alike than different, that every business has the same problems. We have people problems and we have people solutions. And getting outside of our office has always allowed me to grow the office. So every time I leave the office, I'll run into somebody at the grocery store every time, and they say, "What do you do?" "I want to come to your office." So every time I leave, we're growing.
I talk to many chiropractors, and a lot of them start talking to me and they feel like, would you just talk to my team for me?
Yes.
Can we get you on like a 30-minute call just to talk to the team about your enthusiasm to grow a practice? And a lot of offices plug into me, and I'm like, look, it's capped at 30 minutes, but yeah, you can schedule a call with me and the team can talk to me. And, all those offices that have taken that step with me. I don't charge for it, but when they take that step with me, those docs reach back to me and they're like, dude, you just liberated the minds of my business. And now I just don't even know how to thank you enough, because it's like that thing you said, like hearing it from dad, it's different than hearing it from somebody that's a trusted advisor or a resource.
You're a couple of things. You're outside of chiropractic. You're not expecting anything in return. So there's no expectation, and you're real. You're just real. And it's so refreshing inside of chiropractic to have you just do your magic, which is you being you.
And here's the thing is I'm like, look, if you're not supposed to be there, you should probably quit today.
Yeah.
And like, it's a gut check, but I think we don't have time to just pass time. And we don't have time to put the wrong people on the bus that are going with us to the next place.
Right.
And if those people inside of that system don't realize that it's a serious thing, that we are saving people's lives and that we have a big responsibility, and they never heard somebody say it with that conviction before, they're doing the wrong thing. They need to go get a job doing something else.
Right. You want to have the right person in the right position, doing the right work the right way. Otherwise, I love you, but I'm going to promote you to outside the office. So,
but there's a lot of responsibility, once again, back full circle to the person on the stage.
Yes.
And who's out there in the audience listening, and who is going to be the future leader of this profession. And maybe it's you, and with that, let's close out talking about what you're doing with the Remarkable Practice now.
With the Remarkable Practice, we're in the CEO group, and I've got a great group of chiropractic CEOs inside of my group, and we're again we're inside of chiropractic at the Remarkable Practice, but we're also, how do we get outside of the chiropractic group so that we can bring this to our our local area, and our local area has 5 million people in it. So I take everything that I learned there so I can speak the language of business filtered through chiropractic, and then I bring it to other groups, like we had talked about other business groups that we're going to be a part of next year. And that's really the power, is bringing those two relationships together. Other dentists do it, medicine does it, physical therapy does it, large scale chiropractic franchises are doing it, but how do we bring that to the grassroots level and really elevate this profession? So inside of the Remarkable Practice, I'm also leveraging a lot of their success partners. And I think that's where, just listening to your podcast, you have success partners, people that also support the podcast. And I would encourage everybody that's listening to investigate them. They will make your life significantly easier. If you've got a good EHR, okay, it will make your life easier than people are still using paper. If you've got great marketing teams behind you, utilize those. So we fully utilize the Remarkable Practice and all of their success providers. And that's, we stand on the shoulders of giants. That's why we do what we do and are able to do what we do.
Well, Tony Robbins, I believe, said success leaves clues.
Yes.
And mentorship is something that everybody should investigate, and to find their board of advisors for all aspects, whether it's business, whether it's adjusting, whether it's marketing. You should find your group that can help you make your decisions moving forward. And I just really admire what you've accomplished and how you've come to where you are today. And just getting to know you as a person has been a really great experience for me. And knowing that you're continuously evolving with what you're doing with your wife in practice, and plugging into the Remarkable Practice group and helping with that organization, and really helping nurture the future of chiropractic. I just really appreciate you spending some time with us today and being 694. Let's close out today with a miracle story that you've seen over your years of practice, and leave people with something to think about.
So yesterday, I had a lady that was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and she came in yesterday. She goes, whatever we've been doing, they've changed my diagnosis to now essential physiological tremors. And I said, what were they going to do with you 3 months ago? She says, they were going to drug me for the rest of my life. And they said, hey, listen, don't worry about it. You're 52. These drugs will keep you alive till you're 90. And she was crying because she saw what she was going to go through. There was people in her family that had gone through neurodegenerative disorders, and just the idea of that destroyed her. And getting a change in the diagnosis, and she said, you were right. You were right. This was coming from my spine. And the only reason I bring that up is because that was yesterday. I could tell you about the one the day before that and the one the day before that. But there's a couple of funny ones, and I'll tell you this. Joanne was 280 pounds, laying in the hospital, and her friend was a patient in her office, and she said, listen, I need you to come and adjust Joanne. I said, okay, well, where is Joanne? She's in the hospital right now. I said, okay, I'll see if I can get there in the next couple of days. She goes, they've given her 24 hours to live. I said, okay, let's go. So I went to the hospital that night, and there was this blob of a woman, gray. She had been in the hospital for 10 years in a hospital bed, and she had the oxygen, and she would muttering, sputtering, but inaudible. And I said, Joanne, I'm Dr. Zsolt. I'm going to check your spine. If I find something, I'm going to adjust it, and we're going to let the power that made the body heal the body. And that was it. And so I checked, couldn't move her, so I had my integrator. I said, your atlas is out, and I adjusted it. And I said, that's it. And her friend, the patient, came in 2 days later and said, they found Joanne outside. Joanne had gotten up in her gown and left the hospital, and they brought her back in, and they said, you can't do this. I said, what are you talking about? She was immobile. I went back the next day, adjusted her again, and she checked out of the hospital at the end of that week. 2 weeks later, she had lost 60 pounds of edema. I mean, she was it just came off of her. She showed up at the practice a month after her first adjustment, bawling. She goes, I don't know what happened. She goes, there was this angel at the end of my bed, and it said something about my atlas, adjusted me. Anyway, and the backstory is her husband was going to be the chief of police, but he stepped down because she was going to die, and she had been dying for 10 years. They sold everything, and he just basically lived in a small home by the hospital, and that was their life. And over the course of the next months and years, we reconstructed her life and gave her big goals and big visions. She had not been out of the province, and now she's living in her dream house, in her dream location, and her husband and her are visiting grandkids. And just, again, nothing that I did. I found the problem, I corrected the subluxation, and her body did. It was a miracle. And there's many patients. Gail was another lady like that. 25 medications, Oxycontin addict, lost her husband, her job, her life. I mean, everything. And we just started adjusting her, and her life transformed. And now she is a chiropractic warrior. I mean, if she was to find out that you didn't have a chiropractor, James, she would grab you and bring you to our office. And she says, you need your spine x-rayed, you need to get an evaluation, and you need to be under chiropractic care. And she says it unabashedly like you. But here's the problem with those stories, is that my favorite miracle stories are the no story stories. The kid that comes in and never has to go through 25 meds. The person that doesn't have to be hospitalized. Those are my favorite stories, the ones that we never hear about, because there's a lot of people that are in pain that we help, suffering that we help. And I love those stories, but I'd rather we had less of those.
And this, Zsolt, is why I love our show, because we get a chance to share space with people. And I was sharing with you how we're in the top 3% of 3,300,000 podcasts globally. It was always about weaving together the tapestry of this profession through story. And it was never about the most famous chiropractor to me. It was about the person that's always showing up and taking care of their people, that doesn't know what they don't know, but all they know how to do is adjust and find it, fix it, leave it alone.
Right.
They follow the Gonstead methodology. And I think that that's the real beautiful part about journalism, the real beautiful part about doing something that we believe in and having trust for the future of humanity. And I believe that chiropractic is that unsung hero that has kept us away from medical tyranny and that has provided family freedom for health and medical freedom for people that are curious about how to do something in a new paradigm.
Exactly.
And everybody's searching for chiropractic, Zsolt. They just don't know it's called chiropractic.
That's right.
And I appreciate you sharing those stories with us today. Thank you for sharing your story today. If people wanted to work with you or reach out to you, where do we send them to?
Any of my, either they can DM me or they can email me at my at the office. Or do you want me to give you my email? Is that what you're asking?
Let's do the email.
All right, it's DR and then my last name EGEYSAMU@gmail.com.
All right, so Dr. EGEYSAMU@gmail.com. Check them out, send some messages to them, jump on board, work up through a remarkable practice. And this is episode 694 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to close out with?
I think this was great. This was complete. Loop completed.
Well, thank you for being our guest today. I'll close out like I always do, telling everybody you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks, James.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.